All right, guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College Sportscast. So far, I'm here to do our college game day pick'ems, and we'll see if anybody else joins us here in a little bit. All right, guys, welcome back. It's Brad with College Sportscast here to do our game day pick'ems. This is week 17 of the season, and right now it's just me. We got the holidays. Everything's kind of all out of sorts right now. We just watched Louisville and Kentucky, so there's a lot going on. But I want to start out by putting this up on the screen. If you are following us on Facebook, you can now support us by sending us stars on Facebook. Sending stars helps us earn money to make more content. So there you go. Want to put that up on the screen for you guys to start out with. That is only a Facebook thing, by the way. But welcome in. It's College Sportscast Game Day Pick'em, and we are sponsored by Homefield Apparel. You can go to homefieldapparel.com. It will be scrolling on the bottom of the screen there. They have cool vintage premium collegiate apparel. You can use our code CSCast for a 15% discount. There's over 180 teams that you can choose from, and they've got really cool retro logos, mascots, throwback teams, lots of different stuff there that you can choose from. We are featured by the Fanboys and on Let's Talk Sports and WSBN TV, and all of that is scrolling. Daniel Berry Sports, I appreciate you being on here with me. Appreciate that. It is the Christmas season. There is a lot of stuff going on. I will say that there's a lot of stuff going on with Oregon State and Washington State trying to position themselves to save the Pac-12. They have a 2-year grace period to get back to 8 teams. They have already made an agreement for football with the Mountain West Conference for scheduling for next year, possibly in 2025 as well. And they are in talks and close to an agreement with the West Coast Conference for 2 years for men's and women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, as well as most Olympic sports. Baseball and football are not part of that with the West Coast Conference, and they do not have track and field and swimming, I think, as far as Olympic sports. So, but that's a little bit of news. I'm going to dive right into bowl games. We got a whole bunch of bowl games to cover. I think there is 18 bowl games between now and next Thursday night. So that's what I am going to cover tonight mainly. At the end, I'll talk a little bit about college basketball, but there's really not a lot going on over the Christmas season over the next few days. So there's really not a lot to cover when it comes to college basketball. After tonight, you had Louisville, Kentucky, Kentucky winning 95-76 in that game at the Yum Center, KFC Yum Center. So the the first game I'm going to talk about is the Gasparilla Bowl. We got two 6-6 teams, Georgia Tech and UCF, in this one. Georgia Tech has, rebounded from firing their coach early last year, and bringing the interim back as the head coach this time, and they're 6-6, making a bowl game for the first time in a few years. UCF went to the Big 12 this year and finished 6-6 as well. Some of these spreads are going to consider some of the opt-outs and transfers and all that. UCF is favored 4.5 in this game. I don't follow these enough to know who all is not playing in these games. So, all of these teams and all of this stuff, I really don't know. So I'm just going to kind of go through here and kind of guess on some of this stuff, because some of these spreads, you look at it and you're like, there's no way that should happen. But anyway, in this game, Georgia Tech from the ACC, Central Florida now from the Big 12, in the Gasparilla Bowl. It is played tomorrow night. I believe this one is played tomorrow night on Friday. There's one bowl game tomorrow night, and that is this one. I think I'm going to take, this Georgia Tech team, come on, I think played a whole lot better than what they were given credit for. And I'm just not sure about UCF. It's where Gus Malzahn is. And I'm not sure if they've got the quarterback back now or not. But in this game, I think I'm going to take Georgia Tech in the 4.5 points in this one. And then there's about 6 or 7 games on Saturday. One of them is the Birmingham Bowl. And this is one of them that in the middle of the season, you would have thought there's no way that Troy is favored over Duke. Troy versus Duke in this one. Troy won the Sun Belt Conference title. They have lost their coach, but I'm almost certain that he is coaching and keeping his team together. They do not have any opt-outs or anything. And Duke has a ton of loss off of this 7-5 team from the ACC. They lost their head coach, Mike Elko, to Texas A&M. They have lost their quarterback to Notre Dame. He transferred. Riley Leonard transferred to Notre Dame. And as far as I know, they have lost a bunch more on top of that. And that is the reason why Troy is favored by 7 in this game. And I'm actually going to take Troy in this one. John Summerall has done an absolute stellar job at Troy in 2 years. He's 23-4 with 2 conference titles and is moving on to Tulane. He was hired at Tulane. He is moving on there to coach the Green Wave after this bowl game. It's, of course, the Birmingham Bowl in Birmingham, and it is kind of in their backyard. And I figure Troy's going to have a pretty good crowd for this one. So give me Troy in the 7 points. All right. The next game I'm going to talk about is Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois. Arkansas State is a 3-point favorite in the Camilla Bowl. That is this one that I'm talking about here. So Arkansas State has had some up and downs. And I really don't know that much about Northern Illinois, so I'm going to take Arkansas State in this one and take the 3 points. This is one that I really can't talk about a whole lot because these are kind of two lower tier teams that I really don't know a ton about. I do know Arkansas State has played some big games, got drilled in some of them, but I think I'm going to take Arkansas State and the 3 points in this one. The next game is the Armed Forces Bowl, and we've got James Madison making their bowl debut in this one. They are a 2-point favorite over Air Force. Air Force is 8-4. James Madison is 11-1 and ranked. Air Force was 8-0 and lost their quarterback and lost their last 4. I do not know if he's going to be back in this game. If their quarterback is back in this game and they, have held their team together, I would think with the Air Force they probably have. If the quarterback is back, I think this could be a really good game to watch on Saturday. James Madison versus Air Force. I'm going to give it to James Madison in this game. They have proven it all year long. They made the bowl game despite really not being eligible. They just come up a couple of years ago and really aren't eligible, but they needed to fill some bowl spots, and this is one of the teams that got to do that. So this is their very first time being in a bowl game, and I think I'm going to take James Madison and take the 2 points. All right, the next one I want to talk about, this is a Saturday game as well, Idaho Potato Bowl, and it makes me hungry. I throw stuff in there every once in a while. We got Georgia State versus Utah State in this game. Utah State is a Mountain West team, and they are favored by 1.5 in this game. Georgia State, the first 6 or 7 games of the year, was winning games that I thought they would lose. And then the wheels kind of come off late, and they played a tougher schedule. Utah State is kind of in the mid, from mid to upper pack of the Mountain West. But I'm going to give it to them in the 1.5. Take give the 1.5 for the Utah State in the Idaho Potato Bowl. All right. And then the next one is the 68 Ventures Bowl. This game, South Alabama is favored over Eastern Michigan by 17. Sounds like an awful lot in a bowl game, especially with teams that are lower tiered teams. It just sounds like a lot to cover. So give me Eastern Michigan. I know South Alabama played a couple of games against some top tier teams and struggled in those. But that's playing top shelf teams. So, but I'm going to take Eastern Michigan. It just seems like an awfully big spread in this one to me. So give me Eastern Michigan. Now, this one, the Las Vegas Bowl. This one is also played on Saturday. We've got Utah, a 6-point favorite over Northwestern. First, Utah is 8-4 out of the Pac-12. Northwestern is out of the Big Ten. This is probably one of the first, power conference bowl games. Utah is the two-time defending Pac-12 champs. They played without Rising, their quarterback, Cam Rising, all season long this year. They've had some quarterbacks leave, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on out there. Northwestern, after all they started the season with, they finished the season 7-5, guys. Like the coach did an absolute. They had 1 win last year and had a swirl of stuff going on, and their coach got fired. Fitzgerald got fired before the season, right before the season, and had a lot to deal with. And he's done, their coach now has done a heck of a job. I don't know if he's gotten a full-time gig yet or not, but goodness, he should. After what they've done, I'm going to take Utah. Utah has a heck of a defense. They're favored by 6 in this one. They, I think, have one of the best defenses in the Pac-12. They've had the best, I think, the last 3 or 4 years, and they definitely still have one of the best this year. So give me the Utes in this game and the 6 points. And the last one on Saturday is Coastal Carolina versus San Jose State in the Hawaii Bowl. This is one, the spread is San Jose State is a 9-point favorite over Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina's had Graham McCall the last couple of years that has played really well. But he's transferred to Notre Dame for next semester. So, and they've lost a couple of other. I'm going to guess that that's the reason why this spread is a 9-point spread in favor of San Jose State. Otherwise, I would think that it would at least be closer, if not Coastal Carolina being the favorite. San Jose State is a pretty good team out in the Mountain West. So I'm going to take them in this simply because I don't think McCall's going to play. So I think that's what I want to do in this one. And then this one, the Quick Lane Bowl, these are played next Tuesday after Christmas. Christmas Eve and Christmas is Sunday and Monday. These games are played next Tuesday. The Quick Lane Bowl, Bowling Green versus Minnesota. Minnesota is one of the only teams with a sub 500 record. They're 5-7. Still favored 3.5 points coming out of the Big Ten over Bowling Green. I'm probably going to take them in this game. It's a game they probably should win by 3.5 points. So PJ Fleck is got to get his guys going here and out of the Big Ten and get them a win in the Quick Lane Bowl next Tuesday. All right. Then we got the First Responder Bowl, Texas State versus Rice. These are both Texas teams. It's kind of interesting. Texas State has Auburn's old quarterback, and Rice has JT Daniels. So Finley is Texas State quarterback, TJ Finley that was at Auburn, and Rice has JT Daniels. And they're both Texas teams. This is a pretty big rivalry. Rice has played pretty good this year. Texas State has 2. Texas State is a 5.5-point favorite here in this game. Part of me wants to take Rice in the 5.5 points in this game because they hung tough with some really good teams this year, and Texas State won a couple of games early that I don't think they should have won either. But I think I'm going to take Rice in the 5.5 points in this game. Robert Rhodes, what's up? I'm going solo tonight, it looks like. I appreciate you being on here with me. Just wanted to check my chat real quick. All right, so the next bowl game, this is on next Tuesday as well. Kansas takes on UNLV in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Kansas is a 12.5-point favorite over UNLV. Now, UNLV's 9-4. Barry Odom done an excellent job in his first season out there. They got beat in the Mountain West championship game. They were in the championship game versus Boise State. And he's done a well of a job, to be honest with you. Barry Odom has out there, but I would think Kansas and Leopold would have his guys ready for this and go in and be able to win by a couple of touchdowns or more. So I'm going to take Kansas. You just don't know with some of these bigger teams like this, how, I don't know what the effects of the transfer portal has been, what the effects of maybe opt-outs and NFL draft declares and stuff. I really don't know a lot about all that with Kansas, but I'm going to take them in this one. And then the next four are next Wednesday, which is going to be the 27th. So we have the Military Bowl, Virginia Tech versus Tulane. Tulane is ranked one of the top teams in the country. They did get beat in their championship game, the last game out. Virginia Tech out of the ACC. This spread, I'm going to take Tulane. Tulane bounced, and won the USC in the Sugar Bowl last year. I think it was the Sugar Bowl or Cotton. I don't know. It was the a New Year's Six Bowl. I know that. But anyway, just off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what it was. But they bounced USC in the in a New Year's Six Bowl last year. I don't know if you heard that, but something crashed. All right. But I'm going to take Tulane and take these 10.5 points in this game in the Military Bowl. Then we got the Duke Mayo Bowl. This is the bowl game. We've got ACC versus the Big 12. We got UNC versus West Virginia. West Virginia is a 6.5-point favorite in this game. North Carolina's like 8-4. West Virginia's 8-4. So, but I still don't think this spread would be that. My guess is Drake May is not playing. I mean, he's projected to be a top 1, 2, 3 pick in the draft. I'm going to assume that he's not playing in this Duke Mayo Bowl for UNC, and that might be why we see the spread at 6.5. I'm going to take West Virginia in this. Neil Brown has done a heck of a job to get them to 8-4 this year and had a really good season there. So I'm going to take the Mountaineers in this game. All right, the next one. Again, this is next Wednesday. The next one is the Holiday Bowl. And the Holiday Bowl is Louisville versus Southern Cal, USC. This ought to be a pretty fun game. Of course, USC has a bunch of people who are transferred out. They have several people who are not playing and going to the NFL draft, including Caleb Williams. I think that's why you see a 7.5-point favorite in as far as Louisville in this game. I don't know what to expect in this game. If this was the regular season, midway through and I was looking at this game, Louisville versus USC, I would take USC in a heartbeat in this game. But something tells me to take Louisville in this game. I think USC is going to be without a whole lot. So something tells me to take USC in this spot. I'm not exactly sure what like leads me to that, other than I think you're going to see USC like just half manned. You're not going to see them near at full strength. So I'm going to go with Louisville and give me the 7.5 points. And I got Hammonds to join me now. What's up, Hammonds?
Buddy, I forgot all about it. I got tired away watching something on something about like a documentary, and I'm thinking I got a podcast going on right now. Like I just forgot about it, man. I don't know. You just sit there.
We watched the Kentucky game, and then yeah.
But I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna be like you on this one. USC's got a lot of guys out. I think Louisville. I think they win this game. I think it will be closer than people expect, though, because USC still got some decent players out there. But at the end of the day, I think Louisville will be more up for this game than USC will be, honestly, because Caleb Williams is not playing. I think Raleek Brown's not going to be there. There's a lot of guys out for USC, so
there's a lot. They're missing a lot of guys, to be honest.
They really are, and I think USC, I'm going to take Louisville. I think I'm going to take Louisville in the 7 points.
I think that's why you see Louisville as a 7.5 point favorite too.
Yeah, it's
because they're missing a lot of guys. So
they are
in this. Yeah. All right. So this one again is next Wednesday. This is the Texas Bowl. This is SEC versus Big 12. We got Texas A&M versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State finished second in the Big 12 this year. They were in the Big 12 championship game. I think they lost that game, so I think they're 9-4. Texas A&M is 7-5 out of the SEC. Texas A&M is a 2-point favorite here. Now, John, I mean, I told people we've been talking, so I told people, I don't know all the ins and outs of who's playing and who's not, who's transferred, you know what I mean? Who's going to the NFL. So,
yeah,
some of these you just kind of have to take a stab at and just kind of guess. But
even though this is probably going to be games where you're going to have a lot of guys out, I think this is still going to be fun. Texas A&M has got a new coach, Mike Elko, and this is going to be a chance for some of these players to get in front of him and play and see what he's got coming next year. In my opinion, it's more or less an audition, if you want to be honest about it. And the thing about it is Oklahoma State to me has been really inconsistent the last month of the season. They've not really played good football at all, and I don't even know if Ollie Gordon's playing. I'm not even sure if he's playing or going to the NFL. I haven't even heard. But I believe this game will be decided late. It'll be a close game because Big 12 SEC, they always match up pretty good in the bowl games. So I think giving me Texas A&M. I think they win this game. I think they cover the spread. The inconsistencies of Oklahoma State kind of worry me in a game like this because they haven't played really well down the stretch.
I get it, but Texas A&M has lost a lot in the transfer portal. I can't imagine that Elko's getting to coach this game because he wasn't part of this semester.
I don't think he is either, bro.
So I can't imagine he's getting to coach this game. He might be there, and they have lost a lot in the transfer portal. They're one of the teams that's probably lost the most talent They've lost several 5-stars, several 4-stars. I don't know how many of them's playing. I don't know how many of them's not playing. You can still be in the transfer portal and play because you finished this semester. So I don't know, so I'm going to take Oklahoma State and Gundy, I think, in this game, just simply because I don't really know.
Well, you don't, and right now it's a there's just a lot of ifs, ands, or buts and candy nuts. We'd all have a Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people, there's so many players out. You look at tonight, Syracuse has got a tight end playing quarterback. Like, some of the depth.
That's why I had my little rant the other night about how this has got to change. All this transfer portal stuff before the bowl games is ridiculous.
It's got to get better to a degree where they give them an opportunity that after these bowl games, that right as soon as the bowl games are over, you drop it and you start opening the portal. You give them about
you have to.
I was trying to give them about 30 days. What you do? Give them about 30 days.
Yeah,
about 30 days.
We were kind of cutting in and out the other night, but I was trying to tell you, imagine if right before March Madness, they just open the damn transfer portal and like half the players leave and we don't even know who's. I mean, imagine if they did that.
The biggest difference in college football and college basketball, I tell people all the time, if that happened before March Madness, is you might not even have enough players to play in basketball. You'd be playing walk-ons in March Madness.
Technically, if you're playing a tight end at your quarterback position, you don't really have enough players to play, do you?
No, you really the depth. It's a depth factor, especially in some of these bowl games.
Come on, Western Kentucky had to plead and beg with their third string quarterback to come and play because they didn't have anybody else.
Here's the difference, though. Like, you got all these games with the portal, but all in all, the only games that's really going to matter in the grand scheme of things is the playoff games because they're playing for something.
I get that, but I still think it's just asinine, in my opinion, to open the transfer portal.
I agree with you. I'm on it.
Before these bowl games. And I was trying to say that the other night, and we were kind of.
Well, I agree with you. And I think as soon as the bowl games are over, you hit it and you make it a 30-day, thing where it's a 30-day limit, and then you shut the portal down for a couple of days, and then you go right back to the portal because right now it's a free-for-all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, it needs fixed something off.
It does. I agree with you.
If you ask me. All right. So that is Wednesday's games. These games, the next 4 are next Thursday's games. A week from today.
Mm-hmm.
That's when these games are. We got the Fenway Bowl. We got SMU versus Boston College. SMU is a 10.5-point favorite in this game.
I like SMU in this game. I like their running game. They're going to get a backup. Kevin Jennings is going to start for SMU. I think they had a few guys that was in the portal as well. To me, I feel like this is a win or lose your job type situation for Hadley for Boston College. I know he went to a bowl game. I know he's been on thin ice at Boston College, but I feel like that if he was to, win this game, they might give him one more year. It's been an up and down, year for Hadley, especially the last couple of years of Boston College. So I think to me, it's a win or lose situation for me. But I still think they give him one more year to figure it out. But I wouldn't be shocked either way if he did lose, that they ended up moving on to somebody else. but I got SMU in this game. I just think SMU has too much offense in this game. They still got some playmakers out there. And I just think they'll cover the 10.5. I just don't think BC has enough firepower to win this game. So.
Yeah, I am all on board with the Mustangs. Just so y'all know, some of my very first big college football memories are from the Pony Express in the early 80s, mid 80s.
Yes, sir.
I absolutely fell in love with a running back by the name of Eric Dickerson a long time ago. And
you know who his sidekick was, don't you? Craig James.
Craig James, yeah. I absolutely fell in love with a running back by the name of Eric Dickerson, and I'm not even making this up at all. He was drafted by the Rams, and that's the reason why to this day the Rams are my second favorite team. And the whole reason for that is because of Eric Dickerson. I absolutely loved to watch him run. So I'm going to ride the Pony Express, and I'm taking the Mustangs in this one. So give me the 10.5 points on this one too.
Let's see here.
People probably nowadays are like, what the hell is he talking about, Pony Express? All right, so this game is pretty much even. We got the Pinstripe Bowl. We got Rutgers versus Miami, and I saw one thing that said it was a half a point favorite by Miami, but I mean, come on, that means it's even.
Well, right? Ja'Cory Brown is going to play for Miami. Alex Van Dyke is in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
My biggest question is can Rutgers defensive line create some turnovers with an inexperienced quarterback playing for Miami? That's the biggest key to this game, I think. They averaged, I think Rutgers averaged 11.5 points at one point when they went on a 4-game losing streak. That don't give me much trust in Rutgers in this game. Even an inexperienced quarterback, Miami still got some weapons out there at receiver and running back. And I think they do enough just to win this game. Give me Miami. What's the odds now? Is it even?
It's actually even. It's a pretty even spread line on this.
Let's just do Miami straight up then. I think Miami wins this game straight up. So
yeah. What I seen on it, it had Miami at like half a point favorite, but that pretty much means they're even, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, if you win by 1, you cover. So, I mean, that means it's even, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
no?
It is.
So, Rutgers started out really, really good. Actually, they started out like 5-0. They wound up 6-6.
Well, and then they hit a little streak there where they just lost 4 in a row, and they just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, they did. But I wanted to give them some credit. They actually started the season out really well. Rutgers did.
And if you haven't watched them all year, though, they actually gave Michigan a better game than many thought they would. Like first half, it was very close up until the second half. So, and Michigan kind of just pulled away.
This Rutgers team plays good defense. That's pretty much a staple of this team. They play good defense. Miami, you just never know what you're going to get with.
Well, and they got a Kentucky kid playing quarterback for them, Gavin Winsap. So he's a Kentucky guy. Kentucky, I think, recruited him at one point. He's a good little quarterback for Rutgers. So
yeah, and of course Van Slyke's not there. He's transferred out. I don't know how many other transfers Miami has. I really don't know. You got Big Ten versus ACC. I think I'm going to take Miami in this game. But, man, I don't feel real good about taking Miami in any football game, to be honest with you. I mean, just being truthful here. The Pop-Tart Bowl. Where some of these sponsors and names of these bowls anymore is ridiculous. But anyways, we got the Pop Tarts Bowl. Got NC State versus Kansas State. Kansas State is a 2.5-point favorite.
I like Kansas State in this game. This is going to be one of those, hard-nosed defensive battles, I think. Both of them play really good defense. Kansas State's got a top 10 offense. They average, I think, 37 points a game. Will Howard will not be playing in this game. He's in the transfer. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he transfer to Miami?
I haven't heard where he wound up yet.
I think it was Miami. I can't remember, but NC State's got a good quarterback in Brandon Armstrong. For me, this might be a trap because NC State has played really well the last 2 or 3 games, and this is one of those games. It's one of those games that if I'm Kansas State, I better be prepared for because NC State's going to give you. They're not going to give you a lot of fancy stuff. They're not going to be flashy. They're just going to play hard-nosed football. They're going to play hard-nosed defense. They're going to grind the clock out. You're going to expect a 60-minute, grind it out down the field type game, and this is one of those games I think can go that route. But if Kansas State gets on a roll and starts throwing the ball and moving the ball, I don't think NC State really has much of a chance in this game because of their offense. Their offense can sometimes get stagnant at times.
It can, but they come on the last 4 or 5 games. But here's what I want to say about NC State. NC State has 21 or 22 players in the transfer portal. Now, a lot of those are not first teamers, but there is some backups that play that is in the portal. And I don't know how many of them are going to play, if they've all, if they're not, if they are. I really don't know, but I think that could affect their defense because NC State is 9-3. They finished 3rd in the ACC, and I don't think a lot of people even know that.
That's what I told people. I told people this. Was it yesterday? I made a comment on Twitter. I said depth is going to be a big factor with a lot of these teams. There's not going to be a lot of depth, and a lot of guys that haven't played, they're going to have to jerk some of these redshirt freshmen out and play them.
I mean, you're going to have to. Like I said, they've got 21 or 22 people in the transfer portal. NC State does. I mean, that's a big chunk of your team right there.
That's a big part of your team, yes.
That's a quarter of your team. 22 players are a little bit over a quarter of your team, scholarship-wise. So I mean that's a huge chunk missing. So, and Kansas State, Will Howard, the quarterback, is gone. I don't know who else has gone out of that. I don't really know. I do know NC State because they're into fanboys. There's a guy that's an NC State guy, and that's the reason why I know their exact number. It's either 21 or 22 that they have out. But I'm going to go Kansas State in this game, I think, simply because I'm not even sure who NC State's quarterback's going to be. MJ, I think, hit the transfer portal. Who was the guy that come in and replaced Brennan Armstrong. And so, I guess it might be Brennan Armstrong. I'm really not sure.
I was actually wrong on that. Will Howard did not – he was visiting Miami. He did not commit. I think he's visiting USC.
I don't think that he has committed. He's visited.
No, I don't think he has places. I know that he was high on Miami, though. That was one of his schools.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, and then this is the last game next Thursday. The last game of the day. This is the Alamo Bowl. This should be a pretty good one. Arizona is actually a 3-point favorite over Oklahoma in this one. Of course, Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel is gone and transferring. I I don't know if any of them is playing or not, but their entire starting offensive line hit the transfer portal. I'm not making this up, guys.
Oh, I know. It's
their
intense.
entire starting offensive line hit the transfer portal.
And according to what I was told today, looks like they might be turning to Jackson Arnold for to play quarterback for Oklahoma. So
it's pretty scary to strap up when you have no idea who's going to play offensive line. I mean, come on.
I'm just going to say this though. We talked about Oklahoma. I just want to give a shout out to Jed Fish. What he's done with this Arizona team. A year ago they ended the year on a really good note, and they just kind of flipped that to this year, to the calendar year, to 2023-24. And he's got another good team coming next year. He's a really good coach. He's a good recruiter. They had really good quarterback play this year, I thought, with Noah Fafiti. I think that's how you say it, Fafiti, something like that.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it, man.
But he played really well as quarterback. They upset a few teams, and they're 6-0 as an underdog this year.
They're actually finished third in the Pac-12.
That's impressive.
Arizona did.
And I will, but I'm going to take Oklahoma just for the mere fact that Oklahoma seems like the most winning bet on this side. But I will say this, that the Alamo Bowl game there's always a thriller game in these type games, and I think this will be no different. I think Oklahoma wins in a thriller. I'm going to take Oklahoma in the 3 points.
I mean, John, Oklahoma's Oklahoma, and you want to say, oh, well, they can absorb all of that or whatever. But when you look at it, and they literally have about 2 or 3 players who were starters that hasn't hit the transfer portal on the entire offense.
Well, and one of their main guys, Green, he's gone as well. One of their main top cogs.
It's so hard. Because Oklahoma, you would think, well, Oklahoma's going to be Oklahoma. But when you have to play, and I don't know if all of these guys are not playing. I mean, you can still opt to play and be in the transfer portal. So, if some of these guys are playing, then it could be a completely different game. But gosh, here's what happened. So the offensive coordinator, Levy, took the Mississippi State job. So when Levy left, a lot of these guys hit the portal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of what's happened. And they're going to have to rebuild and get somebody in there. And on offense, Oklahoma's not looking too great right now. Matter of fact, I got a friend, and I've been making some jokes with him, that they're heading to the SEC with nobody on offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take Arizona, and it's just because of all of this. And I'm probably going to be fooled. Half of them's probably going to play, and they're probably going to kick Arizona's hind end. So I don't know. I just know that it is crazy to think that their entire offense is in the transfer portal and gone.
Yeah.
All right, so that is 18 bowl games. John, you missed several of them. You kind of made some of the bigger ones. Do you want me to run through and you give a prediction real quick on these?
No, you're all right. I'll just go. I'll just leave it at what I got.
All right. I mean,
You just tell me the games and whatnot.
Did you come in on the Kansas game?
No.
No, you come in on Louisville, didn't you?
Yeah.
Louisville UNC or Louisville USC?
Yeah, that's the game I come in on.
All right. So the Mayo Bowl is North Carolina and West Virginia, 6.5.
Let's see here.
They're both 8-4.
I think I'm gonna take West Virginia because Drake May most likely will not play in this game. He's probably gonna go to the NFL. So basically, give me the Mountaineers.
All right. Then Virginia Tech and Tulane in the Military Bowl. Virginia Tech is a 10.5-point favorite.
I don't know where this is. I don't know.
I mean, Willie Fritz left, but they hired, John Sumrall. So, they did lose a few players when Fritz left to go to Houston.
I think this will be a very big game for Virginia Tech because it's sort of like a program builder to start the new year, start the next season. I felt like Brent Pry, he done what he could this year, but he still struggled against ranked teams, and he didn't do really well against teams that were better than they were. And I think this will be the case. I think that's where my upset pick. This spread is just too high for me.
That's what I picked.
Even though Willie Fritz is gone, I'm not even sure if Michael Pratt's going to play. I've heard different things that he's going to jump in the portal from different things, so I don't really know. But I still think Tulane's got enough talent to beat an average Virginia Tech team. So give me Tulane.
All right, and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl is Kansas versus UNLV. Kansas is 12.5-point favorite.
I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a fun game because UNLV has, they've only allowed, I think, 163 rushing yards. But Kansas's offense is really good. So it's going to be one of those games where which one breaks first, the offense or the defense. And I think Kansas does. I love what Barry Odom has done this year with this UNLV team. He was my second pick for, Coach of the Year, right next to Eli Drinkwitz. So, but at the end of the day, I just think Kansas has too many weapons, and they win this game going away, and they cover the spread.
All right, man. That's all we'll catch up on. Some of them are kind of lower tier stuff. So, really and truthfully, I was going to let you kind of lead here with this because there's really not a ton of really good basketball games over the next 4 or 5 days. On Sunday, I think there is just a few tournament games. There's one of those holiday tournament things that's going on, but there's nobody real big in that one on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, there are no games at all. And there's really not. The biggest game that I know of is Arizona and Florida Atlantic on Saturday. And if you want to cover that game and talk about that game, and if there's any other one in college basketball.
You want me to go through the college basketball scoreboard for tonight? I mean, I thought about it.
You can, yeah. If you got it up, you can, yeah.
I got it up. Tonight, St. Thomas, Minnesota beat Wisconsin River Falls 104-51. I mean, St. Thomas is probably, they've just entered in their Division I, but Minnesota beat Ball State 80-63. Army beat UTSA 63-53. Miami beat Stonehill 97-59. Norfolk State beat South Dakota State 84-65. IUPUI beat Defiance 90-67. Richmond beat Buffalo 72-66. I'm kind of just want to go through and give some of the bigger games, I guess. UNC Wilmington wins on the road at Marshall 78-69. So UNC Wilmington continues to win after beating Kentucky.
Hey, we need to see UNC Wilmington keep winning. It looks a lot better.
Iona beat Colgate 85-65. That was a really big win for Iona after the way they've struggled lately. Charleston beat St. Joe's tonight 89-82. And this was not a bad game. I think Charleston was a quad two game. St. Joe's had 2 or 3 chances to win it, and they just couldn't get the shots to fall. But this St. Joe's team is a really good team. They're going to be fun to watch in the Atlantic 10. Detroit has lost again, everybody. They lose to Central Michigan 75-63. Jeff Goodman made a quote,
by the way.
Jeff Goodman made a quote the other night, said, the Pistons and Detroit are combined 0-something since October. And I said, well, it looks like the Lions have broken the curse because the Lions have won 10 games. So from there, let's see here. Tennessee beats Tarleton State 65-46. Tennessee actually struggled in this game. They didn't play the best. Purdue beats Jacksonville 100-57. Michigan State beats Stony Brook 99-55. Cleveland State beat Western Michigan 90-77. TCU beats Old Dominion 111-87. Syracuse beats Niagara 83-71. Syracuse is putting together a really good team. Darnell Autry, he's having a really good season this year with his first year at Syracuse. Nevada beats Temple 80-56. Trying to see down through here. Monmouth beat Manhattan 77-71. Arkansas beats ain't that awful? Abilene Christian 83-73. Kentucky beats Louisville 95-76. Kentucky started out kind of slow. Then Kentucky just absolutely put on a clinic offensively, like they have all year long when they're in a zone. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. I know this.
They did in the middle part of the game. The first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes, it was a little boring. I thought the game.
I'm going to tell you because you're up big and you got a big lead, and it just kind of gets sloppy. But I'm going to say this, and I know this is a college sportscast, and we cover Kentucky and we cover a lot of players. But if you haven't watched Rob Dillingham play basketball, you need to watch the kid play basketball. Yeah. He's NBA ready. This Cal team is a team that, I'm gonna be honest with you, they got the opportunity to go to another Final Four because they don't have. Here's my take on it. John Rothstein brought out a good point on this tonight. He said they have a higher ceiling than they had when they lost to St. Peter's in when they was a 2 seed. This team is a lot better than those teams. And they have a bigger and higher ceiling to go farther. And it's up to us and it's up to Calipari to make sure that happens and they don't get sidetracked. On the other hand, there's games going on right now. LSU leads Lamar 45-26 at halftime. Massachusetts trails Georgia Tech at halftime 37-31. San Diego State leads Stanford by 2 at halftime 34-32. East Washington leads on the road at Washington 40-39 at halftime. That would be a terrible loss for Washington after just Gonzaga. I mean, that would not be.
I hope they can pull that out. Yeah,
that would not be. That'd be a really bad loss. But on to the Friday games. There's not a whole lot. I was looking down through here. Nevada plays TCU. Nevada plays TCU tomorrow. That should be Nevada. I think is 10-1. TCU's 9-1, I believe.
Illinois and Missouri play, I think.
Illinois and Missouri plays.
Yeah.
And then you got where's it at? Maryland and UCLA. I'm going to tell you something. UCLA has been a team this year. I don't know really what's going on. if Mick Cronin got something through the email that said, collapse and please come to Louisville at the end of the year. But something is not going right in UCLA land. They just don't have a really good team.
Well, so I will say this about what's going on with Cronin and UCLA. They have 7 freshmen and 1 new transfer. They have 8 new players, from last year's team. And 7 of them are freshmen. And there's not too many teams like a Calipari who can get the top-notch freshmen and look like Kentucky does that can handle 7 freshmen at one time.
Well, and I kind of want to go off this. This is a shout out to T3. Chicago State has won 4 games in a row since 2008. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if they go into Wisconsin tomorrow night and they beat Wisconsin, you ought to get on the train, ladies and gentlemen, because
I'm still not buying. They're 7-9.
Yeah, I know it's. But what you saying was Saturday. Here's the Saturday games. There's actually some really decent games Saturday. Rutgers plays Mississippi State on the road. Actually, no, that's in New Jersey. That's at the Prudential Center. So that's a neutral site game. Well, it might be where Rutgers plays, I'm thinking. But anyhow, Butler plays Providence. Providence coming off a big win against Marquette this week.
Butler and Providence is a good game.
Ole Miss travels to Southern Miss. This will be a big game for Ole Miss on the road. They can't afford to lose this game next to conference play coming, because conference play is going to get tough for the Rebels. Even though they're ranked 25th, they're still kind of out there. You don't know really what to expect from them. Seton Hall and Xavier play. I think it's at the Census Center. That's a hard place to play. Seton Hall's coming off a win against UConn, which UConn, Marquette, and what's the other team? The top 3 are 0-1 in conference.
Yeah, they all got beaten on that 2 nights.
Which is crazy. Florida Atlantic plays Arizona. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's in Las Vegas, the T-Mobile Center.
Creighton is the other one that got beat.
Yeah, it's a neutral site game for the Alabama game or for the Arizona game. Villanova goes to DePaul, which most likely you don't never know because Villanova is up and down. They did beat Creighton, but they did lose to Drexel and they lost to Penn and they lost to St. Joe's. So
can I ask you a question? Does Alabama play the Lakers next? Because it seems like they're just playing everybody.
It seems like it. It seems like it. It does.
Like they played 22 top 10 teams already, it seems like.
They have. It seems crazy, doesn't it? Vanderbilt.
I think they play the Lakers next.
And Vanderbilt, listen, y'all. I love CBS. I love what y'all are doing. But why are you putting Vanderbilt on the road at Memphis on CBS at 4:00 for prime time?
Oh, man,
I mean, come on now. I'm not trying to throw any shade at Stackhouse. But right now, Vanderbilt is a mess, and it's a bad situation. There was a picture that was posted last night of the crowd before the game, and this used to be a proud basketball program at one point. Shane Foster, John Jenkins, they had some really good teams that beat Kentucky, Florida, Alabama. They beat some really good teams in SEC play.
Stackhouse beat us last year.
He did. It's just. And Memphis is a really good team, by the way. That's not to take away from Memphis. They got a good team. And St. John's, Rick Pitino goes to Hartford to play UConn, which that will be – it's an 8 o'clock game. It's probably the only game, the big primetime game, Saturday night. And UConn is without Klingon. I want to say this, and we can get on to end the show, but when UConn does not have their big man, they look very beatable. I don't know what happened to UConn. Was it last night? Against Seton Hall. It was last night.
Was it last night or night before?
They looked like they had never played a game of basketball. It looked like UConn from last year in November. It didn't look like the championship UConn team.
Yeah.
But as you recall, they done all that in November, and then they went roughshod in the Big East tournament, and they just collapsed everybody. So
Yeah.
I still think that they're a great team, but they're just a good team when they don't have Klingon, because Klingon makes a difference for them in the middle. So
Hey, the Big East is going to be a bear. So
the Big East is going to be tough. I think the Big 12 is going to be fun. I think I've told people the ACC is probably North Carolina and Duke and everybody else, which I know Clemson, but I don't think there's only a handful of teams though, Brad, that can actually play North Carolina style ball.
I actually think North Carolina might win the ACC, to be honest.
And Duke,
from what I've seen so far.
Well, and you look at Duke the other night, they beat Baylor, but Baylor's coming down to earth a little bit. They're not. Yeah. They did that last year. Baylor has a tough time playing offense at times. Their D's great, but sometimes they just go for stretches where they just can't shoot. And but I just want to say one quick thing before we get off here. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if you eat any pecan pie, please remember Brad Harvey. Brad Harvey loves pecan pie. He thinks it's the world's greatest, apparently, and which it is. It's good. I just want to say this on top of that. Kenny Payne, do the right thing. And if you don't get fired, step down. And I don't mean this in a bad way. It's a bad situation. Even though Kentucky whipped them really good tonight, there was a point in that game, Brad, and this ain't from a Kentucky perspective. This is from a Louisville perspective. It was like the players wasn't even listening to Kenny Payne. They was just doing their own thing.
Well, that's what's been wrong the whole time.
They don't have a leader. They don't have a leader.
That was happening last year. That's the reason why they looked like they did last year.
And I'm going to say on top of this, I would love to have a 30 for 30 behind the scenes of that Louisville team the last 2 years, what it's been like. I would love to see what was going on behind closed doors, because I'm not saying it's all Kenny Payne's fault. I'm not saying it's all the players' fault, but there's something going on. I think it all started partly was when Flowers left. When he went to the G League, I think that started the wildfire a little bit too. Because if they have Flowers on this team, Louisville's got a decent team. And they have a decent team now if they had some coaching to go along with it.
Well, but they've had guys out. I mean, even today, there's still 2 guys that are out.
Yeah, JJ Trainer,
and 7'1" guy and a 6'8".
The Evans kid and JJ Trainer.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it would have made much of a difference, but at the same time,
I'm just saying. I mean, they've had guys out, and then the whole Karan Davis thing, and I mean, it's just
been. And then you had the Big Blue chants in the arena of the opposite team. Now that's embarrassing, folks. That when an opponent's fan base.
Depends on how you look at it.
To a Kentucky fan, it's fun, but to a rival fan and a fan that I love, it's embarrassing, because you have an opponent's rival come in and take over your arena. It makes you look like that you have no fans that actually care. And there's people in this program that do care. You look at Dykes tonight. Jimmy Dykes said something that really struck with me. He said, this is a big brand. This is a big brand in college basketball. And for it to be the way it is a disgrace.
I mean, I agree with you. I've been saying that for a while. So
off my rant.
All right. So we will be off until next Thursday, guys. It's a long time. It's a week away. But we've got Christmas. I've got a Christmas to go to after Christmas for a couple of days. So our next show will be next Thursday. However, I am going to announce that we're going to have James Bailey on with us for about 20 or 30 minutes to start the show next Thursday. And he is going to come on and we're going to preview the Gator Bowl. He does a Clemson Fun Fans podcast for the fanboys, and goes to Clemson games, knows the program in and out, does a podcast.
Oh, you mean to tell me you didn't get Jay?
No, didn't get Jay this time.
I could just see you all going at each other's throats, man.
Yeah, me and Jay. I think we would. James is a really good guy. Yeah. He is a high school principal, or he might even be. I think he's a high school principal, I believe. And he's going to be on with us, and we're going to talk and preview the Clemson and Kentucky, and talk about it and preview the Gator Bowl. Now, that won't be the whole show. It's only going to be about the first 25 or 30 minutes, and then he's going to leave, and we're going to kick off and do our game day pick'ems. Because next week, our game day pick'ems will be on the bowl games for like New Year's Six Bowl and the college football playoffs. So
Jay, all joking aside, Jay is a cool guy. Jay's a good guy too. Jay's a fun guy. He's just a Clemson fan. We can't help it.
And he tries everything in the world to get under my skin.
He does me too. So I love him though. But I will say this coming up. I know it's coming the 28th. We're getting ready to hit conference play. SEC's getting ready to start. This is when the fun happens, y'all. This is when teams separate themselves a lot during college basketball, and there's still some non-conference games coming up. What are you going to do Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday without no basketball? Like, are you really going to be able to live?
I don't know, man. It's going to be really strange. So
it's going to be tough, man.
Please join us next Thursday. We're going to have a special show. It's going to be a whole lot to do with the big games of college football. We're going to preview the Gator Bowl. We've got a Clemson guy coming on with us. Again, his name is James Bailey with the Clemson Fun Fans podcast of the fanboys. So, and then we're going to talk about all the rest of the bowl games and the New Year's Six bowls and the college football playoff 2 bowl games. So there is going to be a lot to talk about. We'll probably throw in a little bit of college basketball games for that weekend as well.
You have a date for New Year's?
I don't know. I ain't figured that one out yet. Hadn't thought that far in advance.
You gotta give you a hard time, man.
Hadn't thought that far in advance, man. All right, guys. So we will see you guys on the 28th, and this has been our game day pick'em for a lot of the mid bowls. So I appreciate you guys being with us, and everybody, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and we will see you after Christmas.